Hey everyone, it's Coeval here. I've got another 60 Grassy game for you between myself and 3 Plate Bench. They haven't been featured on this channel before. They are a relatively new player to Arcanists 2, and I believe they told me they played OG. And this is a pretty good game, so let's get right into it. Looks like he's running a glide book. That's all I know at this point. And I decide to throw out the mud here. I do have a Mega Pixies book this time around with Glide, so we'll see how it fares. 3-Plate Bench does like to shuffle. He does what I call the I don't know what to do shuffle, when you're kind of stumped and you just, press Z and X back and forth, just spam it. So I'll have a little bit more time to talk through some of these turns, but yeah, pretty basic start, just mud. He towers out. I want to get my Pixies set up, force him to have to respond. He knows that he doesn't have to kill him immediately, because if I do try to stack him, he can just come over and kill them then. And then I used an extra minion, the Swarm, to undead them, or an aura. So he's gonna wait for me to stack them, and I don't know, maybe I should wait a little bit longer. Just spread them out and not undead them yet, and do something else. Maybe go over and kill his Swarm, but I choose to do this tempo play, and it's possible for him to swarm the Pixie up there at the top, the one that has 10 health that's not undead yet, but I don't think he would be able to drain and not kill all of them, so it'd be kind of pointless to use the swarm on that Pixie because it would die from a drain bolt. So he's gonna probably glide here and drain to kill those off. Does that little shuffle, as I mentioned. Wearing a bit of a funky costume, kind of fun, but a donut with a mustache, kind of weird, but to each their own. So here I know that I want to deal with that swarm. I decide to tree it on the side, and at this point we're pretty even, so I'm expecting him to maybe tree me, run away and summon another minion. I don't know exactly what his book is, right? So just kind of lying in wait and waiting for him to make a move so that I can react. He makes a good play here, I think, at this point. He is going to tree. He knocks me into that hole to make it easy. And I decide here to just flash out. It is turn 5, so Dark Knight is coming soon, but I know that I have the left side if I need to stall at all. And Pixies are good for stalling, so he does the shuffle again, as I mentioned. He'll be doing that for a while throughout this game. Just kind of gives me more time to unpack what's on the board, so to speak. And here I'm thinking that he's gonna maybe trap me with the Pegasus. He decides to Ice Shield, which is a good move, and actually pulls out, let's see what he does here. So he pulls out the Dwarf, and I think that I could Blast from the Past that off and Pebble, but I accidentally hit myself. And this puts me in a pretty precarious situation. I guess in retrospect, maybe just summoning a Pegasus or possibly gating out would be a fine play. Gating out is a bit dangerous though, because he does have Dark Knight up, so I have to be a bit careful about that. Maybe I would just summon a Pegasus or a minion, or possibly drain the Dwarf just to get it down low in health, and if he does undead it the next turn I can just kill it. So it doesn't quite work out for me, the Pebbles. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I kind of was pretty defeated here. I was just like, oh no, I'm lost now. I just, made an early screw up, so gotta stall. And I decided to go to the left side here. The tree is live, right, so I can't tower out or anything, can't escape. So, I'm expecting him to pebble here, or maybe the best move, I think, what I would do is glide over to this tree and then flash it open. That way you threaten the Pegasus, and then if I don't block the side, you can mount the Dark Knight on the Pegasus, come down and kill me. He instead opts for the slow play and develops the Swarm. And this is a bit of a misplay, I think. And the reason is because, like, honestly, you don't want to really play that slow when I just gated to the side. I don't have my gate anymore, and he knows I don't have flight too, so like, why should he try and play slow when he could pebble down, and even if he opens up that area, I can't get to him because I only have glide, or it would be difficult to get to him, to traverse all that terrain. So here I don't have much else to do besides tower, and I was kind of worried about him coming down, gliding down to me, or pebbling and getting a lucky sink. So instead I decide to tower, and here I'm thinking that he's going to pebble or flash down again. Still, flashing that tree over there is a great play to open up room for a Pegasus. He decides to equip map. I'm not sure why he equipped map, or where he even clicked it. Yeah, it doesn't really show on the board here, but I wouldn't equip map there. I would just drill the dwarf out and then start, drilling to me. Maybe you equip the map and then you click on me, and what that would do is, he gets his dwarf, probably around here, and equips map, and then it'll drill to me a little bit each turn. Instead, what he opts to do is make the dwarf undead. Problem is, when I'm not on the top, that myth doesn't really, do anything for him. So, a dwarf would be much more threatening because he can dig to me and help break my stall. But he chooses not to. He chooses to make the myth. But, we'll see if that serves him well or not. Looks like he's going over to free the Swarm. But again, I think a better play is to flash this area open with glide. Right now it's not great because I have a Pegasus, so I could come up and sink him, but again, probably should have done that earlier so that he can get his own Pegasus out and then, bring his Dark Knight down and charge me. Again, it's the most optimal when I'm not towered and I don't have a Pegasus, but, it is what it is. So he does free his Swarm. The problem is here, I actually get an opportunity to summon Pixies, and the reason why this is so dangerous for him is because, one, his aura is down. That's his aura right here. So he can't aura them and undead them. And I can undead them the following turn. And he will have to kill them. Otherwise, he'll pretty much be lost. Because Pixies are way strong if you can get them undead. And your chances just snowball. The advantage just snowballs, which means it just grows to an insurmountable sort of a lead. Insurmountable advantage, and it's hard to get momentum back. It's still possible, but it requires you to play really precise. He chooses to pebble. Unfortunately, he doesn't get to me, and so I'm able to safely undead the Pixies. I just want to go and sink my Pegasus, and I should stack them one on top of each other, but I don't. If I stack them, then the bottom two would be a little bit more than 6 health, so a small micro mistake there. But yeah, you just stack them vertically and then summon the Swarm next to them, and that works pretty well. So now at this point, the only option he has pretty much is to glide to the side, kill my Swarm and my Pixies with the Drain, let me sink him, and then teleport back up top. And in that case, he should be pretty fine. because he's still got top control with a Dark Knight and a Myth out. He does try to do a little bit of an elevator act, and unfortunately for him, he doesn't kill the Pixies, so I'm able to spread them out now. And to add insult to injury, I also have a live aura over here that I can absorb, and heal the Pixies and make them a little bit more threatening. Now that the Pixies are free as well, I can bring him up top and force him to basically react. He has to trap them as much as he can. What do I decide to do here? Drain the Swarm, I think, just to gain some tempo, get some damage out on the Myth, get some health from the Dark Knight. Triple whammy there. So I position the Pixie there to kind of bait him to kill his Myth. If he wants to, he can, and I don't mind at all. In fact, that benefits me. So, I can win with 2 Pixies. It's no big deal. So he's trying to get through, but doesn't quite make it. And also, you'll notice it's really funny here. How is that? What? Like, someone explain to me what's going on there. I don't know. So he decides to Pebble again. He can get through with another Blast from the Past, so I have to be a little bit careful. I noticed that Myth there at the last second, and I'm like, oh, what the hell is that doing? So I think I decided to Blast from the Past it off or something like that. But I do want to trap his Pegasus here, kind of limit his mobility. And I decided to tower just to open that space up so that I can start to compete for top control again. And we'll see what he decides to do here. An option that he has is to trap that Pixie, the 64 health Pixie, on the left there. That would be a great play. I don't really know what else he has to do here. There's not a lot of options. He unfortunately traps himself with Pegasus, so he has to gate out. But, not a huge deal for him. His main issue now is that with 2 Pixies, I'm just going to continue to force him to react by freeing my Pixies, and he's going to have to find a way to use all of his resources in his book to just keep him trapped. And we'll see kind of who wins that race. I decide to just free the Pixie here. That Pegasus is never really going to escape. So I'm sitting pretty at this point. I'm just going to focus my efforts on essentially just freeing the Pixie over and over and over and over, because he has to react. Because having a tiny minion with 60, 80, 100 health flying around is really not going to be beneficial. It's you have to deal with it. You can't just leave it. So I decide here to bring my Swarm in. I should have hit the Swarm with the Pixie, but I just forgot. Oops. Maybe rush that move a little bit. So, slight misplay there. But nothing losing. I tree him. Was that worth it? I don't know. I did force him to react, and he has to flash out, right? But excuse me. Besides that, it doesn't really accomplish much for me, so maybe that tree isn't wholly necessary. I don't think I had Pegasus on cooldown, so I don't think I was trying to wait for any particular cooldowns. So I could have probably just Pegasus one turn earlier there. So I'm curious, what is he gonna do with the Dark Knight? How's he gonna get it down there? Is he going to try and undead it? That's probably his best bet, but again, he has to find a way to manage my Pixies and still keep his top control advantage. And he just doesn't really have a ton of options. He does pull out the Man Trap, because he does have a Sanctuary, which we revealed earlier. And that can be useful to help block the Pixie, right? So, not a bad play. I decided to drain the tree. I want the tree to be dead so that I can drain the terrain of the tree, the branch, and free the Pixie. Here he makes an interesting play. He kind of frees my Pixie by Blast from the Pasting there, but he does make that Pegasus undead. The issue with this move is I don't really see a benefit to him doing that. Like, the Pegasus is trapped, and I can always trap it with a Pixie. Even if he flashes it free, I can still just put my Pixie on it and it'll be trapped. So, and now my Pixie's free because I just get a free drain off onto him. You know, get some residual damage there. Not too bad. So, you know, I guess I would have undead that Pegasus eventually, so instead of it being mine, you know, 4 or 5 turns down the line, he has it now, but does it do too much for him? Not really. But not a game-losing play or anything, you know, he's still in the game. I have to still find a way to free my Pixies. So he decides to summon a Swarm here, not a terrible play. Although, because I have undead Pixies, am I worried about that Swarm? Not really. So, you know, I can just kind of chill. I just decide to spam the drain with the Pixie, because, again, like I said, I'm just going to focus all my effort on freeing that. And, you know, at this point, I don't think he can really get to me easily. I'm safe down on the side. He needs to use a Blast from the Past to get through this little compartment here. So, here he makes a slight misplay. He Ice Shields, and it's pretty high. It's too high to be able to summon a Pegasus above the shield so that he can jump out and get free. So, what he should have done is gone down here where this Ice Shield is, and then used Ice Shield. Because then he could fit a Pegasus above and still trap the Pixie, and then get out without using a Blast from the Past or having to Sanctuary. The problem with Sanctuary here is, well, he's helping me free my Pixie in a sense, right? I can just drain out and now it's free. So he kind of Ice Shielded and then destroyed half his Ice Shield, so it, in essence, kind of, you know, took half a turn instead of a full turn. So I decide to drain the Pixie free, and it again heals up because of the Pegasus aura, which is, you know, benefiting me more than him at this point. And here, okay, that kind of indicates to me that he does want to undead his Dark Knight. But the problem is the Pixie's free, so he should deal with that first. And he does. Now at this point I almost have 2 Pixies that are at 100 health, and the reason I've got this one near the aura is just so that it can heal up, right? So yeah, it gains 15 on every one of his turns. So I decide to tree here. Why do I tree here? Because I anticipate that I will be up top very soon, and if he is a little bit lazy and doesn't free himself, then I can come back up top and regain control. He knows that I want to come back up top soon, so he does gate out, just to prevent any shenanigans where, you know, he stays trapped and then I get back up top and, you know, summon a Dark Knight for free. So at this point I wanted to try and free my Pixie, or not Pixie, Pegasus, but it didn't quite work, unfortunately. Still, you know, it's a fine move. It's not a great move, but I would have loved to free that Pegasus, but it's actually still trapped, unfortunately. So here I don't think he has too many options. The Pixie's trapped, so he doesn't have to worry about that for the time being. And I think he will use this opportunity to make the Dark Knight undead, and, you know, it'll gain some HP, become a little bit more of a threat. Now, is a undead Dark Knight better than a live Dark Knight? Yes and no. I mean, now his Dark Knight has 40 health instead of 32, and it can grow in health, so I think it was a fine play. I decided to aura the Swarm, just because I know that in 4 turns or so I can aura it again and kill it. Maybe it's not, worth it, because am I really worried about a Swarm with undead Pixies? I can just absorb it with a Pixie. But maybe I didn't. I don't think I had many other moves. So he makes an inaccuracy here to hit the top with the man trap, because essentially what that does is it frees my Pixie, and he has to block with the Swarm, and I can just kill the Swarm here. It's a pretty simple play. And so instead he should have just probably, well, first of all, not hit the border, just kept that man trap alive, and charging through with the DK is fine, or maybe he can get, I don't know, sink his Swarm and summon a Pegasus, because the Swarm doesn't really help him that much, especially now that I have undead Pixies. And even though his Dark Knight can get out here, or has a path now to my Pegasus, I'm not worried about it, because it can actually get down to me to charge me. So he Ice Shields again, and he makes the same mistake twice, which, happens. He should get down below where this Ice Shield is, and then use Ice Shield there, and then he could summon a Pegasus above the Ice Shield, and then hop out without using a BFTP. Another little trick that I think I mentioned earlier, because he did that same mistake. Now at this point, I was just wanting to drain the Pixie to open up the Ice Shield. Unfortunately, I don't quite open up the Ice Shield, but maybe that's a plus, because he actually can't get out. So it's probably a fine play, because now he's trapped in here, and if he frees himself, then my Pixie also gets free. So kind of a plus for me. And he does end up freeing himself, but also it frees my Pixie, and so I'll take this opportunity to trap his Pegasus. And I can also get this Pegasus, or Pixie, up to the top through this hole here, because he charged with the Dark Knight. Instead of that, I choose to tree, and I position the tree such that I can still get the Pixie through, which is a subtle, micro play. But now I can get the Pixie through, and his Dark Knight can't go back up to the top, because again, I want to gate up top soon, so that I can regain control. But it just takes several turns. We're at turn 29, I still have time. But yeah, this whole time pretty much I'm just planning to build a minion advantage such that I can gate back up top and get control. So I decided to drain. I wanted to drain the Swarm, but I actually missed. And maybe that's a blessing in disguise, right? Again, I mentioned that Swarms don't really have a huge effect on me because I have 2 undead Pegasus, or Pixies. I keep confusing those two because they start with P. But he decides to tree my Swarm, and honestly I'm happy with him using tree on a Swarm because I've got 2 free Pixies out. I have no reason to kill this Swarm, I can just absorb it with the Pixie and then gate back up top. His Dark Knight is trapped, his Pegasus is trapped. He's not stuck over there, but he's kind of immobilized, he's in his tower, so he doesn't really have much that he can do. He decides to bring the Swarm down. He might want to undead my Pegasus at some point. I expect him to charge the DK out. That would be a good move. The problem with this move, freeing the Pegasus, is that it's never free, ever. He can flash all he wants, I just put the Pixie on top, right? So, kind of a wasted turn, unfortunately for him, just because I have the Pixies out. Now at this point, I'm thinking about maybe getting my own Dark Knight out soon, but Then again, I'm thinking, well, maybe I can just apply pressure with the Pixies, try to, you know, bait him into a spot where I can get a nice Mega Boulder off, right? And again, he flashes again, but it's a bit of a wasted turn, unfortunately, because I have a Pixie that I can trap the Pegasus with. And at this point, I want to tower out, just so that I can, you know, be free. And I know that his Dark Knight is still trapped, so getting free while his Dark Knight is trapped is a great play. I have an option of detowering and killing his Dark Knight. If that fails, then I die, so I didn't want to risk it. I decided to just drain him, and I'm of course safe in the tower, right? So it's no big deal. Now he's in a bit of a precarious situation. He doesn't have a lot of options. He has to kind of go in here and hide, looks like. Yeah. And seems like he wants to detower me. For some reason though, he does bring his undead Pegasus over, and in fact he aims the charge such that it kills his undead Pegasus, so pretty tragic. So what you do in that situation is you don't charge to the left, you just charge straight up. So even though the Dark Knight's next to me, it'll still damage my tower. So you basically don't aim left at all, and then, you know, it won't kill the Pegasus. Obviously, you could also just move the Pegasus, right? But, you know, I assume he was low on time. These things happen. It's 60 Grassy, it's a thinking game, right? So, probably spent a lot of his turn thinking, and then got low on time, couldn't move his Pegasus. Maybe panicked just a little bit, and then, you know, rushed the Dark Knight charge. Happens. He's able to get out here, which is a little bit dangerous for me, but I know that he doesn't have flight. If he has flight, maybe he can, you know, elevator that Dark Knight up, blast from the past this shield here, fly next to the Dark Knight, jump it out, and then kill me, but he doesn't. He has glide, so I'm pretty safe here. He tries a cheeky play. He ice shields, and in an attempt to like elevator the Dark Knight up onto the ice shield and then jump him out, but for one, I don't think the Dark Knight fits through that blast from the past hole, and also, yeah, the ice shield radius was just too big. He was too close to the Dark Knight to execute that, so. Now I have a free Swarm out and 2 Pixies, and his Dark Knight's trapped, so the best play here would be to just get free. So I decided to just flash out, keep his Pegasus trapped. So he's got a lot of his minions immobilized, and he's also trapped. Potentially without BFTPs, I think he ran out. So yeah, he's in a bit of a dire situation here. Also, yeah, at the end of the game, I'll show you guys a trick that you can do with Death Bomb, because he could get a pretty huge advantage early with Death Bomb because of the fact that I have Pixies. There's a way you can undead all of them, and yeah, I can show you guys at the end of the video. So yeah, stick around until the end to see that cool trick. I decided to go for the Mega Boulder here. It actually gets a hit on him after he's detowered, which is fantastic. And he doesn't have many options here. He decides to go for a bit of a heroic flash. I don't think that works from either direction. I tested it to try to flash him off to the right, but it didn't work. So, 3-plate bench, if you're watching this, check out my flash tutorial. But yeah, I just go with the Mega Boulder Suicide here, and I'm able to get the victory. So, really interesting game. Again, it boils down to early on, he should flash this tree over to the left, pop glide, flash the tree, and then he threatens the Pegasus. And if he gets Pegasus out, then he can bring his Dark Knight down. And, you know, I don't really have many minions out at that point, and my gate's down, so just became a kind of game of pace. He played a little bit too slow when he should have played quicker. That allowed me to gain a bit of an advantage while on the side, get my Pixies undead, and then it became a bit too much for him to deal with. So yeah, let me show you guys this trick with Death Bomb real quick. I'm just going to get a book with Glide and Death Bomb, or just with Pixies. Yeah, just going to grab Pixies here, and then Death Bomb. So what you do pretty much is you summon the Pixies. So let's say your opponent summons Pixies, you can hop on them, and you pretty much can go anywhere. You just want to be touching the middle Pixie. And so I just position myself like here, and then I find the extend angle that is basically directly through the Pixie, so where the power bar goes directly through the Pixie. So if I zoom in here, let's see. I think this one is close enough, and you're again just making sure that you make contact with that middle Pixie. You just tap it, and let's see, I failed. Let's try this again. So get close to the Pixie, there we go, okay. So go a little bit more to the side than I did. Didn't quite work out too well there, but yeah, let's just try it again just so you guys know. Position yourself to the side of the Pixie, touch it, and then you can zoom in to align yourself with the extend angle that is closest, the Pixie's closest to the power bar, right? And then you just tap it, and the Death Bomb actually undeads all of the Pixies. So if you do this to your opponent's Pixies, you all of a sudden have made undead every single Pixie that your opponent has, and they're going to be at 21 health, I think. And the middle one is going to be at more health, or the side one, whichever was closest to the Death Bomb. So you're going to have one Pixie that's at like 30, above 30 health, and a couple that are at 21. And yeah, your opponent is basically lost, or having to go for the draw in that scenario. So because he has Death Bomb and Glide, he could have actually done this trick early on and really put me on the back foot, and essentially I have to go for the draw from turn 2, or unless I have some sort of spell like Mud Ball, maybe could have trapped some of them, but maybe not all 3, right? Because look at them, look at how spaced out they are. So anyway, that's a cool trick with Death Bomb you can do when you're facing an opponent with Pixies, and if he does this, the game goes a lot differently. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.